Well, hello, beautiful people. How are we doing today? We are back at it once again. This is part 49 of Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting by Lynn Grabhorn. This is chapter 10. I know it's been a crazy ride. I am so appreciative for all the people who are dedicated and stuck through this thing because I hope you guys have enjoyed this book as much as I have. There's just been so much great information. And, last week we were talking, or yesterday we were talking about uh, the body, and how everything is just in the mind. And I know last week was a little, or I should say yesterday, it was a little controversial because, it was like, hey, talking about death and all these different things. And the main thing I can tell you guys is just keep an open mind, when it comes to these things. My mentor used to always tell me, if you don't believe something, take the time to prove it wrong. You will automatically be surprised at what you can find. But do the homework, do the research, do these exercises, continue to push forward. Even if you're questioning it doesn't all have to make sense. It will make sense over time. So I just want to keep that in mind as we continue to listen through this. And we're almost done here with chapter 10 in this exciting ride. And we're almost done actually with this whole book. So again, thank you guys for jumping on board. And let's go ahead and continue in with Everything is a Co-Creation. Ooh, I love it. All right, here we go.
Everything is a co-creation. Many years ago, the mother of one of my closest friends was killed in a bizarre auto accident. As she and her husband were heading toward an underpass on the freeway, some swell kid tossed a boulder from the overhead crosswalk, sending it crashing through the window on the passenger side, killing Mrs. T instantly. Seems like one of those awful coincidences, doesn't it? Rotten luck. Bad roll of the dice. No, none of the above. It was a co-creation. First of all, had either Mrs. T or her husband been more plugged into their guidance, they would have taken another route, gone later, or skipped the ride altogether. But secondly, and more importantly, this was not an instant happening of the moment. Like any accident or illness or calamity, it had been a long time cooking vibrationally. Mrs. T had been operating with a closed valve for many years, smiling sweetly and chatting pleasantly, while being deeply resentful of life's dealings. She was an exemplary victim who had been in strong resistance to the flow of well-being for a long, long time. And so was her young executioner. Here's where we go back to the who's on first routine. Whose vibration was responsible for the happening? Was it Mrs. T's, from her years of concealed pessimism, or was it the kids? As it always is in any so-called accident, it was Mrs. T's vibration that did her in, even though it was a co-creation. She was pinging on a particular frequency and pulling in everything of like vibration, which, in this case, wasn't too cool for her. Just simple physics. You hit that one tuning fork, and every other tuning fork on the same wavelength is going to respond. Let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being a wide open valve, Mrs. T's life of worry had caused her to emotionally vibrate at a destructive 4 for some time. On the other hand, the young lad had only a few years of feeling inferior to his peers and grossly angry at life. Yet so strong were his feelings, and therefore his magnetic attraction, he too had reached that same destructive 4. Their courses were set. Sooner or later, he was going to meet up with another 4 that was flavored with the same vibrations of unworthiness. For Mrs. T, if it hadn't been the rock, it would have been something else just as devastating from some other 4. Like a diver whose oxygen line has been severed. This frantic young man was simply lashing out in pain and anger from being cut off from his own source of supply. In another way, so was Mrs. T. Finally, each in their own brand of pain, they were sucked into one another in a perfect example of co-creation. She had attracted her destiny. He had attracted his. Someone or something need only match you in frequency, and the attraction begins. Which one, event, person, circumstance, will get to you first? The one with the strongest intensity, and you will keep on attracting and merging, attracting and merging, attracting and merging, until you get so tired of the gloomy game, you eventually check out, as Mrs. T did, or you change your frequency. If an accident involved two or more people, it was a joint exercise in negative attraction. If it was an accident that involved children too young to develop their own negative emotion, then those youngsters picked up their vibrations from their environment. If it was a plane crash, those on board of all ages magnetized themselves into the event.
Mm.
Disaster, cataclysm, mishap, or disease. The brew of negative emotion that has perked over time to cause these happenings has come from an amalgamation of negative vortexes joining forces to form an electromagnetic attraction so strong that ice forms on the wings of a plane to bring it down, or brakes fail in a bus to careen it over a cliff, or a firestorm uproots what otherwise appears to be totally contented lives. If we're living with our connection to that life force cut off, sooner or later something's going to sock us, like a car, a flood, a train, or a tornado. Ever wonder why a tornado will hit one house and leave the next? Now you know. If it's just a dent in your car, your valve has been partly open. If both you and your car got creamed, your valve has been pretty well closed. If you broke your leg on the slopes, your valve's been partly open. If you busted up your whole body, your valve's been pretty well closed. I could go on, but it's sort of valve closing to dwell on all this stuff. My point is that nothing but nothing comes to us by accident. Not our lotto winnings, not our new loves, not our illnesses, not a freak of nature, not an accident. They've all been drawn to us electromagnetically by our feelings and our vibrations. Nothing in our world ever has, or ever will, come to us except by our own vibrational invitation. Now, don't go flying off into panic, Phil, if you've been a jaded basket case all your life. That's not an automatic ticket to cancer. Close, but not automatic. You have only to find your joy, and that open valve vibration will instantly override years of gloom and doom. You might have a little fender bender, but that's all it will be. No big deal. Or maybe you'll have a little cold. No big deal. Just small reminders that you still have some resistance to the frequency of well-being. And so, who are the main attractors? We are, always. It's our feelings, our valve, our resistance. No one is doing it to us. If we're attracting negatively, it's because we're vibrating negatively, drawing some other thing or some other one into our space in the timeless dance of co-creation.
Wow. Very
Our
cool.
wellness switch. The bottom line to all of this is that we simply have no damn business being sick, being in accidents, getting old, or even dying for that matter. But as we routinely turn off our wellness switch to block ourselves from their source of life with negative emotion, something's bound to happen. So you might want to watch how you're expressing yourself. If you're saying, I want to be well, but your dominant vibration is saying, help, I don't want to be sick, Which way are you attracting? If you're sick and saying, by God, I'm going to beat this thing, I'm going to win this battle. From that position of defensiveness, what are you focusing
Focusing
on?
on. Mm.
No matter how many people love you, no matter how much you give to the poor, no matter how well you run your business, no matter how delightful and pleasant a person you truly are, if you have negative vibrations of any kind running, even in your manner of speech, you're going to attract some kind of bummer. Now, granted, the primary vibrations of mass consciousness are all around us, an endless exhaust of powerfully negative energy, which we allow to govern us, knocking us about like a ship in a storm without its rudder, and usually making for a pretty rough ride. That does not have to be. You don't ever have to be a victim to mass consciousness or to any one person's negative energy. Not your doctors, your families, your friends, your lovers, or the groups around you. Just state your wants every day. Write and then speak new scripts about your body, your health, your looks, your life, and pretend. Get into the feeling place of what you're pretending and become one who is so aggressively flowing your own energy and vibrating in the frequency of joy that you override all that you or anyone else might have been flowing before. Not only will your body joyously respond, but there will be no more accidents. Is it easy? No. It is not the least bit easy to switch focus away from a roaring illness, or pain, or unwanted weight. But you can talk yourself down a little bit at a time. You can open that valve a little bit at a time and reverse your body's direction. You are far greater than your body, so never doubt you can do this thing. Laugh more at everything and lighten up. There is only one thing you need to do in order to have the body you desire. You have to find ways to be happy, a little at a time at first, until nothing else in your world matters. Not your body, your family, your old doubts. Only your focus on being happy. That, in the final analysis, is what health and well-being are all about.
All right, you guys, this is awesome. Love it, love it,
Chapter
love
11.
it. Let's stop there. Okay. Well, I hope you guys love that because there was a lot to unpack. And like I said earlier, this is very controversial stuff, right? Because it's going against what we think is normal and what is natural. But understand if you're doing this work, nothing is normal. You have to question everything. And that's the only way you're going to find out the true truth, right? Because just because someone said it, people believe it and they go on, passing it on forever, but never asking any questions. This is an opportunity for you to continue to ask questions, look at things differently, and continue to surprise yourself because I'm being surprised all the time. Even though this is like my fourth time reading this book still surprises me. Like I forget that there's even chapters like this in the book. And it's just one of those super important things. So that's why I'm breaking it down into little sections so you guys can easily go back to them and find this information and I guarantee you if you listen to this book all the way through again or read this book all the way through again, you're going to hear things that you never even you're like, when did that come in? I don't even remember that part of the book. And that's what's fascinating about this work because we learn in layers. And the more continue to just, you know, repetitiveness, keep being repetitive, the more this stuff gets changing. That's why it's like, you don't go to a restaurant and then just eat there one time. No, you keep coming back because they have different good foods and maybe the food might even taste a little bit different because there's a different chef in there. You know what I mean? So like it's the same thing here. There's information, there's so much stuff to unpack. And the more you continue to be open, the greater this information is. So I hope you guys liked and enjoyed that. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. Hit that notification button so that you get all of these notifications because like I said, I am posting these every day, and actually pass this on. Of course, if you guys are finding this helpful. And until next time, you guys make it a great day. Take care. Bye bye.